Are you making use of small pockets of time? This is another aspect of managing time for aspiring entrepreneurs. Those of you who are employed, either full-time or part-time. There is what we call small pockets of time during the day. We already established that time is finite resource, and once time is spent, you can't gain it. So it's very important that we could identify those small pockets of time throughout our day that we could utilize to doing tasks that contribute towards building our entrepreneurial ambitions. So using small pockets of time usually will add up to achieving bigger accomplishments. And there are three ways in which you can use and get the most out of small pockets of time. Three things you can do. The first is to identify any idle time that you might have during the course of the day. So whether it's lunch breaks or any other break or time you go to take a walk, take some fresh air, identify any idle time. You might take on your spouse or somebody to the supermarket and you just park in the vehicle in the car park waiting for them to come back to the car, or you're going to have a repair done on your vehicle, or you are going to transact some sort of business, and where you find yourself idle and sitting doing nothing. You identify those idle times that you have during the course of the day. Maybe you've gone to a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment or some other appointment, and you find yourself having to wait for your appointment time. That is an ideal period where you can utilize that time while you're sitting waiting in the waiting room, right? You use that time to plan. Once you identify that time, the next thing you do is you assign achievable tasks to those bits of time that you have identified, those bits of idle time. Make sure that you're assigning tasks that you can accomplish within that period, because the last thing you want is to set aside a task so grand and you don't have enough time to do it. That can lead to a bit of defeatism. You feel defeated and deflated because you haven't accomplished what you set out to do. So it's ideal that you identify tasks that are doable during those bits of time. So if you identify 30 minutes to doing something, don't go and do a task that essentially should take you some days to get done. And assign the right task. Make sure that you have set aside the appropriate time to get it done. Make sure that you have at your disposal the resources to get those tasks done. Right? You have to plan. You have to be very careful and meticulous about how you're going to manage your time. Because remember, you don't have the luxury of free time, 8 hours a day to dedicate to your venture. You're essentially employed full-time or part-time, and you're trying to transition over into becoming an entrepreneur. So you start what people call a side hustle, or you start your business on a very low slope. So time is not your best resource. As a matter of fact, you are trying to reclaim time that would have otherwise been wasted or otherwise been idle. And that is your best opportunity to have the time to do your entrepreneurial activity. So we talk about identifying idle time. Scan through your day, go through your day, go through your schedule, forecast your week to see where you can claw back 30 minutes, an hour maybe, in the midst of all your activities and all your time spent with your family and all your socializing. Try and identify the idle time. Next, we talk about assigning manageable tasks during those bits of idle time that you have carved out. Keeping your tasks manageable, achievable, keeping those activities achievable, those set activities that are so big in scope that the time that you set aside is not sufficient. You feel you're chasing your tail and you're always behind. You could never get current on the things that you have to do. That could lead to a sense of overwhelm and a sense of underachieving. And once you start to feel that way and it start to mess with your psyche, you start asking yourself, well, what sense is this making? I accomplishing what I set out to accomplish? Is it worth pursuing? You don't want to have to ask yourself those questions, because that will be defeating the purpose before you even get your venture off the ground properly. And finally, you want to having identified those activities that are doable in these bits of time that you've carved out, you want to be able to measure the effectiveness, measure your productivity, measure the results of those tasks and assignments that you have set out. You want to be able to see progress. Because if you're not seeing progress, then you won't be motivated to continue. A new business is not an overnight sensation. It requires consistency. It requires time invested in it, especially if you're transitioning as an employee or a professional into entrepreneurship. There is a gestation period. That gestation period, but there's a lot of things that happen to make your business sustainable enough so that you can then take the plunge into your entrepreneurship full time. So you have to be able to measure, set yourself targets and goals, set yourself targets and measure the attainment of those targets. So you might have said, well, okay, in 1 month time, I want to have a working website up so that I can receive visitors and showcase my business. You set a target. How many hours per month can I commit to building this website? Right? You want to develop that sales materials, training materials, marketing materials for your business. Set targets. In 30 days or 20 days, I want to have my marketing materials ready. Whether it's on my website, my social media, and you set time blocks, as we discussed before. How long is it going to take me to achieve getting these materials ready? And at the end of that period, you measure the outcome. Did I accomplish 100% of those tasks? Are they 50% completed? Reassess how much time you really needed to get this done. And if we do those things and we use those small windows of time, those small pockets, those small windows of idle time effectively, you'll be surprised to see how much progress you will make in setting up your business. And that when you eventually decide to make the transition, your support system, people around you, colleagues, employees, they'll wonder how you have transitioned so smoothly. And it wasn't on the account of cheating your employer or shortchanging your professional life. You just managed to use your time more wisely, more effectively. You were able to identify idle time, want to use that idle time as an investment in your business development. Like you were able to assign doable tasks that otherwise would have caused you to procrastinate or would cause somebody else to procrastinate and, tell yourself that I could never get this done. I could never achieve this X amount of time. I need more time. But by identifying small windows of time, you were able to get those tasks done. And of course, what doesn't get measured doesn't get improved. If you're not measuring your productivity, then you won't be able to make the adjustments necessary to give you the deliverables in the time that you want to have those deliverables. So my admonition this morning is as you go about your day, think about all the idle time that you have. Time you sit gossiping, old talking, time you sit watching TV, time that you could be invested in yourself, invested in your business. If you find this useful, thank you for joining me on this episode of Coaching in the Car. If you found it useful, share this video with your colleagues or anybody who you think might be this path to entrepreneurship. Like and share the video. I have written extensively on this topic using small windows of time in my last newsletter, and I'll leave that link in the show notes for you. Also, follow me on LinkedIn. I post there every day, diligently, consistently. I've been posting there for the last year. So you can find expanded content on my LinkedIn profile. The link is also in the description. And I look forward to sharing with you again on another instance of Coaching in the Car. I hope you found this useful. I'll see you again. Peace out.